A lot can happen in a week. Some of it good, some of it bad, some of it downright ugly. When faced with intriguing developments in the week's news, we turn to a rotating panel of non-experts to parse the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. On today's panel, Vivian Ho, health economist at Rice University and Baylor College of Medicine, Raul Ramos, associate professor of history at the University of Houston, and Celeste Diaz-Sherman, co-host of Hello Houston, weekday mornings at 11 here on News 88.7, starting March 31st. Vivian, Raul, Celeste, welcome to Houston Matters.
Hi, Craig.
Hey, Craig.
Hi, Craig.
Panel astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams are back here in the Houston area after returning to Earth following their prolonged 9-month-long mission aboard the International Space Station. Wilmore and Williams, you'll recall, launched to the ISS back in June with initial plans to just stay up there about a week. But due to issues with the Boeing Starliner flight there, the return trip was delayed. As NPR reported this week, now that they're back, they're spending up to 45 days at Johnson Space Center undergoing a progressive post-mission recovery program. That includes medical and performance testing, participation in studies, and a structured reconditioning program to get their bodies used to gravity again and to return them to their pre-mission fitness. After 9 months in space, 2 astronauts have another month-plus of recovery ahead at the JSC. Is this good, bad, or ugly? Raul Ramos, start us off.
Well, it's good that they're back, right? I think it was a little touch and go there, literally, and certainly they were ready for anything. And in this case, it was a week turned into 9 months. I'm curious about the reacclimation process, and I think that's the part that could get a little ugly. Because, yeah, they're readjusting to gravity, but they're also, 9 months ago was the summer of 2024, right? A lot has happened in the United States. I'll just begin by saying, can you imagine they splash down and they're like, open the hatch and they say, by the way, you took off, it was the Gulf of Mexico. Now it's the Gulf of America. And they'll look very confused and you say, don't ask. And so that's just the beginning of all of the reacclimation they're going to have to go through. I can imagine understanding how the government programs that send them up there might not be around, and the National Weather Service and the FAA, all of these changes that we've been experiencing on a day-to-day basis. They were blissfully – I'm sure they knew about it, but, they were busy running experiments and being out in space. So I think the reacclimation process can get a little ugly, I would say.
That said, they have to be happy to be back here on Earth and ready to partake in a Texas strip steak.
They're going to the rodeo, I'm sure.
Good, bad, or ugly, Celeste Diaz-Sherman.
So absolutely bad that they were out there for so long. But if anybody has ever been on a really bad trip, especially like an international trip, there is nothing like landing on American soil and be like, oh, thank you, Lord, I am here back in America. So really good that they are back here on Earth and they are safe, and their family is probably just so excited to see them. So I think it's good overall that they're home, maybe not home, but anytime you've been away from your family for a long time and you see somebody that you love, you're home.
Okay, good, bad, or ugly, Vivian Ho.
Yeah, so I guess a little bit ugly because this was a Boeing Starliner that got them into this problem in the first place, being stuck up there for 9 months. And given that company has had problems with their airplanes and now with this particular spaceship, that's really kind of disturbing. But yeah, I agree with what you said. It's mostly good because they're back. When I think of that I survived cancer surgery, but then I'm left with these complications that leave me in pain all the time, and I could get really depressed by that. But then I think it sure beats being dead, And it's kind of the same thing with these folks. The alternative, this is just way better. And yeah, the acclimation process sounds pretty tough. There was the one astronaut talking about he was so used to, if he had to get up in the middle of the night, go to the bathroom or something, he'd just kind of push himself out of bed and then he'd float over there. And so when he got back home, he forgot that he wasn't in space and he pushed himself out of bed and he just rolled over and landed on the ground. So, I can see there's that type of thing. But come on, they've actually got free health care and lots of it. And there's plenty of Americans who don't have access to that. So, so good for them. I think they, in a way, they kind of knew what they were getting themselves into. Thank goodness there are people like that who want to who want to deal with that sacrifice.
You know, I was thinking about the scenario. This could make a great sitcom. Hear me out. When I first heard, oh, they left for a week and it ended up being 9 months, I thought, that's the plot of Gilligan's Island, right? They just sit right back and you hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from a rocket ship and ended up being 9 months. It's you can imagine that you know, all the hijinks that might take place. I was trying to figure out who might be Gilligan, who could be the professor. I guess they're all professors. Maybe who would be the
Ginger and Marianne.
Well, we know Thurston Howell would be Elon Musk, right? So we can already think of that plot.
Panel, a man and his accomplices were convicted Tuesday in Britain's Oxford Crown Court in connection with their 2019 theft of a golden toilet. As the AP's Brian Melly reports, the fully functional, one-of-a-kind 18-karat gold latrine was a work of art, insured for more than $6 million. Michael Jones used it during a visit to Blenheim Palace, the country mansion where Winston Churchill was born. The next day, Jones and at least 2 other men broke in and used sledgehammers and crowbars to dislodge the toilet, leaving a flood in their wake as they made their escape. And they would have gotten away with it, too, if it hadn't been for those meddling mounds of evidence, from forensics to CCTV footage and phone data. As Melly noted, the purloined potty has never been recovered, but is believed to have been cut up and sold. Oh, and before you make fun of the Brits for this story, it is worth noting the artwork designed to make fun of excessive wealth was titled America. The alleged thieves who stole a golden toilet have been convicted. Is this good, bad, or ugly? Celeste.
Well, the whole thing is just an absolute mess. I mean, didn't... It really stinks. But
oh, no. Here we
I
go.
had to. Ugly that these guys had no plan, a real plan of how to get away with this. And I think it's also ugly that it was called America. That threw me for a loop a little bit. Not shocking, but yeah.
Vivian Ho.
You know, economists usually, we think of gold as a store of value. And so it's really kind of strange thinking of this as like gold as a temporary storage place for something else. I don't know what these thieves were thinking. It's just one of these crazy things that I don't know how people can think that this makes sense to spot this toilet that weighs over 200 pounds. And we're just going to sort of break in overnight and grab it and make off with it. And gosh, it really has disappeared. And apparently it's been taken apart, like they can't find it. It's gone. So I guess it's a good thing, particularly since they called it America's and now it's gone. It has this crazy history. Apparently during the first Trump administration, Donald Trump, they asked to have a Van Gogh painting in the White House, and the Guggenheim was holding on to it. And the Guggenheim responded, no, we're not going to give you that painting, but we'll give you this toilet instead. So it's got this crazy history. I don't know where this stuff comes from.
Okay, Raul Ramos.
Right. America was broken up into pieces. Sounds kind of like what's happening right now, right? And sold to the highest bidder or the lowest bidder. I looked up the piece, right? This is a work of art. It's a known work of art. It's called America. It was first exhibited in the Guggenheim. The artist, Mauricio Catalan, is an Italian artist. And it was first exhibited during the first Trump administration. But he's very clear. He had already conceptualized this prior to that. So the actual gold toilet was part of a longer process. Although in interviewing him during the exhibition, they asked him, is this a reference to Trump? First of all, like any good artist, he doesn't tell you what the reference is. He says this is up to everybody's individual interpretation. What he is clear is that, sure, it resonates, but that's because this was in the air, like much of other things that are in the air during around the toilet. So this was his work of art. Now, there's another part of this. The year that it was exhibited, first exhibited, was 2017. It was the 100th anniversary of Marcel Duchamp's ready-made art of the urinal that he first exhibited in New York. And he literally bought this toilet at the hardware store and put it up for exhibit. And it caused this huge stir in the art world that you could just take something and put it in a museum and then it becomes art. And that was the commentary he was making. And I think the way that what it's called is ready-made art, that this is something that's part of daily use. And so what's important about this toilet is that it is to be used, right? This is not just put in a museum. It was actually a functioning toilet, which means it's not only up for the interpretation of the viewer, it's actually a place where you would sit and ponder what the meaning of this toilet might be. And the artist was very clear. You know, you actually have a place to sit and think about it, as one does on the toilet.
On the throne.
Right, on the throne, as it were. So I don't know, what would you think of while you're sitting on this toilet? What would you ponder in this case? Maybe, I don't know, I kept thinking about the fact that you would see that the toilet is made out of gold and it's called America and you're sitting and taking a crap on it, right? Does anybody give a crap about America? Like, that's the question. Clearly you are if you're using it, right? So that's, I think, a very literal way of thinking about the toilet, but it's open to interpretation. And certainly what's great about these works of art is they get a life of their own, right? The artist made it for one reason or for his own reasons, but once it's out of his hands, it's out in the world to be used, to be broken up, to be interpreted, and to be made a news story afterwards.
I would imagine a gold toilet, now that you have me thinking about sitting on a gold toilet, would be really cold. Might be a little uncomfortable.
So many things to say, none of them appropriate,
I think
not in the least.
I'm pretty sure that's what the dragon was guarding in Lord of the Rings, right?
The plumbing of smog, I think,
Right,
was
there you
the
go.
subtitle of that one. Vivian Ho is a health economist at Rice and Baylor College of Medicine. Raul Ramos is an associate professor of history at the University of Houston. Celeste Diaz-Sherman co-hosts Hello Houston, airing weekdays at 11 a.m. here on News 88.7 starting March 31st. Vivian, Raul, Celeste, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Greg.
Greg.